this is part of the Disability Network. The whole reason we're gathered here today is to raise funds and awareness on behalf of this wonderful charity group for Connect and Create, so that disabled people can find themselves being more able to be part of the life of the community. And when Jana and Mary Ellen asked me to come along, I thought, well, yeah, I'd like to do that because I myself am disabled. And I lost my leg a couple of years ago in an accident, so just in case you don't believe me. Sexy little accessory here. And can you see it? It is, isn't it? Yeah. It's actually shiny. So I lost my leg a couple of years ago in an accident, and it's an interesting thing because some people are born disabled, obviously, and then you have people like myself who become disabled after being able-bodied for, in my case, 40 years. And obviously they're both different experiences. And one of the things I found is that obviously most of my life I've perceived disabled people in a certain way, because there's one aspect of seeing somebody who's in a wheelchair or blind or has lost a limb. There's that part of it is really scary because it reminds you of the vulnerability and frigidity of the human body. So I always used to remember being a little bit uncomfortable around disabled people because they reminded me of that. And I also remember being fascinated by disabled people, particularly those that seem to be getting on with their lives and seem to be happy. I always used to think to myself, how do you do that? How could you turn something terrible and tragic that's happened to you? How can you overcome it and live a full life and be generous and out there and doing things? And, you know, what's that about? I was always wondered about it, you know, prior to becoming disabled. And then I became disabled and I kind of saw it from this side, and I started thinking about the old side and da-da-da-da. So I wrote a poem called Disabled Guy. And so the vibe kind of is, it's kind of like there's a part of me that actually loves being disabled. There's a part of me that sees it as a gift. And so it's kind of written in the style of Starsky and Hutch. It's kind of like, oh yeah, he's so cool, he's the disabled guy. It's kind of like that. So it's my big kid inside bigging up being disabled. And Pema's going to play us the melody, and Tom's going to give us a little play on the drums. Yeah, so here we go. So this is Disabled Guy.
Yes. We have, this is the first time that Chris has performed this.
He's the disabled guy. 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 It's a paradoxical thing to lose a limb, but I've never bothered to ask why. Because what matters is learning to live with the fact that now I'm the disabled guy. I'm getting stared at by passers-by. Look, he's lost a limb. I think I'd rather die. I'm a freak, and people take a peek on the sly. I walk in a room and conversation runs dry. He's a disabled guy. 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 Fear becomes a sneer as they walk by. They can't hide the distaste no matter how hard they try. But some give me a smile that's wide and wry, cause they know it's all about the attitude I apply. Cause on the inside there's a tragic ladder I climb to kiss the sky. So I feel like the most high, superfly, disabled guy. He's the 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 disabled guy. It's a hell of a thing becoming disabled after 40 able-bodied years. Hello, come in, sit down. Let me introduce you to your greatest fears. Here's a glass half full of laughter and a glass half full of tears. And here's a brand new rude awakening to a completely new group of peers. So after 40 formative years, I stand before you deformed. The cause, the need for me to be reborn. The same cause all the fallen hordes hope not to be in forlorn. Shorn of my born adornment, I stand in the dark before the dawn, wearing the sexiest fracking accessory I've ever fracked worn. He's a disabled guy. 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 disabled guy. He's a disabled guy. So when I get on the bus and I see some young buck sitting in the disabled seats, the cheeky fuck, I go right up to him and I say, check this, bruv. And I slowly begin to pull my trouser leg up. And I stare at him, then I stare at my leg. Then I stare at him, and then I stare at my leg. Then I stare at him, and then I shake my head. And if looks could kill, he'd be clinically dead. See, I get my powers from the kids. Some call me a flid, but some think I'm Inspector Gadget. When they see the leg, they all point and stare. And when they see the stump, the little girls get scared. But my late Neo didn't care. He took one look and said, oh yeah, a bionic leg? Cool, I want one too. I'm like, wake up Neo, legs are best still attached to you. He's the disabled guy. 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 He's a disabled guy. He's a disabled guy. See, I used to think we were freaks too. We used to make me uncomfortable like we can do you. I didn't know what to say or do. I didn't want to get caught up in any boo-hoo-hoo. But now I'm one of them, and they're one of me. And when the shoe's on the other foot, it's amazing what you see. People dealing with agony and tragedy with fantastic existential majesty. See, disabled people tend to be very experienced existentially, and our reality is valid and very valuable when viewed creatively. And inspirationally, the very thing that you'd hate to be may be the key to your greatest destiny. It may be the perfect test to see if you can be more than you were born and blessed to be. He's a disabled guy. 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 Hi, I'm the disabled guy. Thank you very much. Okay, wicked. So, don't forget, just when you see a disabled person, they're still a human being and they've got a unique perspective on life that you haven't got. Lucky them.